It's a feeling like you got the defense at your mercy. And when I make that shot, it was deflating.
Logo Lillard at his finest.
Oh my goodness.
Look at this shot by Lillard.
I think I shoot that deep ball as good as anybody.
Damian Lillard has solidified himself as one of the greatest players in Trailblazer history. He's the franchise's all-time leader in 50-point games and three-pointers made, and only trails Clyde Drexler in total points and minutes. Stephen A. Smith discussed Lillard and his future on the Jump Special yesterday.
If Damian Lillard wants out of Portland, and I'm not sure he does yet, his number one choice is going to be the New York Knicks.
Ooh. Really?
Heard it right here.
Ooh, inside scoop.
His number one choice is going to be the New York Knicks. Now, not over Portland. He's trying to stay there if it can work out. But if he decides to leave, I'm betting the house. It's the New York Knicks that he'll want to go to. Now, if you're the New York Knicks.
Couple houses.
Where's the camera?
Steve, there you go.
Leon Rose, Worldwide West, William Wesley, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to hear cap space and picks. You give Portland what the hell they asked for if Damian Lillard is available to come. And I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if he's going to demand that. I don't know if Neil O'Shea is going to capitulate.
Right.
But if that possibility is there, Leon Rose, Worldwide West, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau, you do what you got to do to get Damian.
Well. Stephen A. just dishing the tea over there. Now, we have to discuss this. So, Perk, I'm going to start with you. Should Lillard be the number one choice? Should his number one choice be the New York Knicks?
No, hell no. And look, here's the problem, right? When you start getting up in age, you start to lose your memory a little bit. And it happens to all old folks. And Marcus, you know, you and I from the southern part of Texas and the southern part of Louisiana, down there in the country. And our grandmas always used to say, God bless his heart, baby. He don't know no better. That's how I feel about Stephen A. right now. You're talking about, look, they have a small area in New York City. They have a small area in New York City that's called Coney Island, okay? Coney Island. Okay, if Damian Lillard decides to go to New York, it's going to be Lonely Island, all right? Because for the simple fact, he's going to be in the same position that he is in Portland. He's going to be in the same position. It's no reason for him to go to New York. Look, the only reason he goes to New York is to please the fan base of the New York Knicks. It's not going to benefit Damian Lillard. It's going to benefit Stephen A. and Spike Lee. He's not going to win a championship there. His number one choice right now, I think, is to stay in Portland. Stay in Portland and figure things out. You have C.J. McCollum, and y'all are one of the best dynamic backcourts in the game today. You just signed Norman Powell back. You have Big Nurkic. But most importantly, you have another voice in the locker room with Chauncey Billups. And we saw what happened throughout the playoffs when you have a different voice in the locker room with Ty Lue and the Clippers, Nate McMillan in the Atlanta Hawks, Monty Williams. When you have a new voice, now you have to just listen because Chauncey Billups has been to the mountaintop. Chauncey Billups knocked off the Lakers with Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, and won Finals MVP. The Portland Trail Blazers could score points with the best of them. Their problem is defense. Chauncey Billups is going to go in there and impose his will. He's going to demand the locker room. He's going to get those guys to defend at his highest level. So, hell no. To answer your question, hell no, New York shouldn't be his number one choice.
Chauncey Billups is one of the few kind of smaller point guards to actually win a championship in NBA history as like the MVP, the lead-ish dog. So I guess that gives him some expertise to try to build this team around Damian Lillard. That seems like a better location. There are other places that he could go, but if it's between Portland and the Knicks, I think you're right. Stephen A. he's a great reporter. I trust him on most of the things that he talks about, except when it comes to the Knicks, because then he's thinking with his heart and not his head. Because there's nothing smart about coming to New York if your goal is to win a championship. Because first of all, he said it himself, give them whatever they want. They're not close to winning a championship now. So we're going to give him everything and replace Damian Lillard with everything? And they're somehow going to get closer to winning a championship? So I don't believe that this is Damian Lillard's first destination or first choice as a destination. I think it's Stephen A's first choice for a Damian Lillard destination. And I learned over the past couple years when it comes to Damian Lillard, I don't believe anything that he says unless Chris Haynes says it. I don't believe Damian Lillard if he says something about how he feels unless Chris Haynes says it. So that is the reporter that knows Damian Lillard best. That's the guy who gives us all our Damian Lillard information, and it is always on point. So until he says that Damian Lillard wants to go to the Knicks, I'm not going to believe it. And I'm sorry, Stephen A., the Knicks are still going to have to find somebody else because there's no way that Dame comes to New York. He wants to win a championship, and the Knicks are not close to doing it.
Well, for clarification, he did say Portland was the number one choice.
Right.
Obviously, working on him being there. But the second part is I disagree with both of y'all. I think the Knicks are a great spot for Dame Lillard because it's the foundational piece. Like, listen, we're not talking about a team. We know they're going to have to give some stuff up to get him over there. But you need a superstar. Like every franchise that's going to win a championship got to start with a superstar at some point. And based on the decisions that they've been making, look, I'm not a Dolan fan. Obviously, I'm not a Dolan fan based on how former players have been treated in Madison Square Garden. But when you look at what William Wesley has done and Perry, these dudes been pretty solid. Like the Knicks were in the playoffs this year and from abysmal. From people not even talking about the New York Knicks, and it's shifting over to the Brooklyn Nets. So if you can get Dame and continue to put pieces together and make this a plan that may be 2 or 3 years out as far as them being in contention for a championship, I see absolutely no problem with that. And looking at it from Dame's perspective, like if you big market, and obviously we just saw the Bucks win in a small market and win through the draft. But if you are a superstar, and you go into a place, if you're going to leave where you are, you want to go to a place where it's going to be attractive for other superstars. And that's one place the Knicks will be. And I get it. Brooklyn is the love right now with KD and James Harden and obviously Kyrie there and everybody jumping on Brooklyn. But let the New York Knicks get a superstar and let them add another piece a year from now or 2 years from now, and we'll be having an entirely different conversation. In order for the New York Knicks to have success in winning a championship, because y'all looking at right now, at some point, they're going to have a superstar in order to get it done. And we all know Dame is that.
See, here's the problem. I did not expect to come on this show this morning and start wrestling with Big Swagoo. And because of our size, it's probably sumo wrestling, all right? There's a lot of sumo wrestling going on because we both big fellas. But it's furniture moving. But here's the point. Look, Damian Lillard is 31 years of age, all right? It's not too much left in his prime, Swagoo. And I understand the market is big. But Damian Lillard has made over $400 million for his NBA earnings, his shoe deal. Right now, Damian Lillard has to worry about winning a championship. Again, I'm going to go back to the point of Kevin Garnett. It's different players, obviously, right? Kevin Garnett, power forward, center, whatever you want to call him. Damian Lillard, point guard. 31 years of age, 31 years of age. KG carried the Minnesota Timberwolves on his back for 9 or 10 years before he decided to leave. Damian Lillard is 31 years of age, had been carrying the Portland Trail Blazers for 9 years. It's time for him to go. You heard what it's time for him to win a championship. You don't want to have any regrets. If you're going to leave and go somewhere, you want to leave where you can go compete right now, not later down the line. You don't have time. And then if you're the New York Knicks, if you're that franchise, why would you give up everything that you have built up from the ground up? You have developed a culture now. You developed Julius Randle, who was a first-time All-Star. R.J. Barrett is finally coming into his own. Why would you give that up to go get a superstar in Damian Lillard and not have a for sure guarantee that you're going to attract other superstars? It's crazy to me.
Perk, listen, I understand that. 31 ain't old no more either, based on what Chris Paul just did. But I understand what you're saying about right now. And obviously that's why Portland conventionally is the place that Dame Lillard needs to stay because they can start that process a bit earlier. But if we talking about him moving on and obviously not going to the obvious, he's not going to a team that's a contender. He ain't going to the Clippers or he ain't going to the Lakers or he ain't going to somebody like that or in the East or somewhere where he just going to go in and win a championship. If Dame Lillard wants a year, let's just say a year, right? If I'm leaving Portland, I'm going to go to the Knicks, and in a year, you guys make moves in order to get guys around me. It's some young fellas coming up. We don't know if Zion wants to stay in New Orleans, and as much as it would hurt my heart for him to leave. I don't want him to leave because that's my team. It would hurt me very much so. But I'm looking at Dame Lillard right now at 31. Foundationally would be your superstar. You know, we can start with this piece. We have a championship piece on our team.
I guess
now we begin to add.
Then what's next? So like this is wrong on both accounts because it's like one, all right, you get Damian Lillard and then you can build around him, but you've already had to give up everything. So how are you going to get someone? Who else are you going to trade for if you've given everything away? But even if that weren't the problem,
I'm under the assumption that they ain't giving
even if that weren't the problem,
away.
the other thing. Well, you're going to have to get Damian Lillard. But the other thing is, you just talked about how terrible the culture has been in New York in recent history and how terrible everyone kind of thinks about them and how it's a marquee destination, but it's not a place where a lot of superstars have wanted to go, in part because the players don't like the way that the organization have treated them. Now they are under some new leadership.